John Wick plots his vengeance on the High Table while in hiding with the Bowery King in New York City. He goes to Morocco in order to eliminate the Elder, the last remaining member of the High Table, and achieves this goal. As a result, Winston Scott, manager of the New York Continental Hotel, and his concierge Karen are called to the home of the Marquis Vincent Gramont, a senior member of the High Table, who scolds Winston for failing to assassinate John. Gramont fires Winston as manager, has the Continental destroyed, and has Karen killed as punishment. He then goes to Paris and hires an old acquaintance of John's named Cain, a blind, retired assassin from the High Table, to assassinate him by threatening to kill Cain's daughter if Cain doesn't. After fleeing the city, John finds sanctuary in the Osaka Continental, owned by his good friend Shimazu Koji. Together, Cain and Gramont's assassins, commanded by the latter's trusted lieutenant Chidi, travel to John's location to take his life. The hotel's concierge and Koji's daughter, Akira, organizes an evacuation and helps her dad, John, and the rest of the crew fight off assassins sent by the High Table. Koji instructs John on how to get away while Akira is injured. John, followed by Cain, fights off more assassins on the way out. John is interrupted by a tracker known as Mr. Nobody, who is after him for a contract. However, after concluding the contract isn't enough, Gramont lets John leave. Akira manages to flee as well, but Koji meets his end at Cain's hands. After returning to New York, John visits Karen's grave to confront a vengeful Winston. For John to be released from his duty to the High Table, Winston advises he challenge Gramont to a duel. John visits the Berlin headquarters of the Rescue to acquire a new crest confirming his membership in the syndicate. This is required by the table's customs in order for him to request a duel on behalf of the family, which he has abandoned. His adoptive sister, Katia, is willing to do this in exchange for revenge against Killa, a senior at the German High Table who had slain their biological father. There, in Killa's nightclub, John tracks him down and murders him. In order for John to officially request a duel with Gramont through Winston, Katia branded his arm with a Rescue crest. If John wins the duel, Winston demands that the New York Continental be rebuilt with him reinstalled as manager. John and Gramont meet in Paris with the Harbinger, the table's envoy, to discuss the terms of their upcoming combat. Cain, who is understandably hesitant about fighting, is nominated as Gramont's replacement. The Harbinger tells John that he and Winston will be executed if he does not show up for the duel at Sacré-Cœur at sunrise on the following day. John receives a weapon and a new ballistic suit from the Bowery King, who travels to Paris to see him. John is expected to attend the duel, but Gramont has put a $40 million bounty on his head in an effort to keep him from showing up. On the road to Sacré-Cœur, John battles a swarm of assassins and even Mr. Nobody himself, but Mr. Nobody gives up the pursuit after John saves Mr. Nobody's dog from Chidi. In order to reach the Sacré-Cœur, John must fight his way up the steps with the help of Cain. Chidi comes close to killing John, but Mr. Nobody dispatches him before. It's a close call, but John and Cain get it to the peak in time to save Winston. Cain severely wounded John in the first 2 rounds of their pistol battle. To finish things off, Gramont requests to personally execute John, but before he can pull the trigger, John murders him. While John dies gently from his wounds, the Harbinger releases him from his debt to the High Table. Winston and the Bowery King go to John's funeral after he is reinstalled as manager of the Continental. John is laid to rest next to his late wife Helen. A while later, Akira approaches Cain, demanding revenge for Koji's death. Chapter 4 follows Parabellum. This iconic martial arts action franchise starts with uninterrupted action and continues till the credits. John Wick 4 follows suit. The film improves on the previous and solidifies Keanu Reeves' status as the finest martial arts action star. Even if you don't like that premise, it solidifies Reeves and Chad Stahelski as the best modern martial arts action duo. I disagree that John Wick Chapter 4 is the best of the series. I still prefer the first film, but this 4th installment is great too. John Wick is a pleasant contrast from the usual formulaic action-adventure fare, owing to great performers and an imaginative location. Most John Wick-style films have too many cuts, making battle scenes confusing. John Wick's action scenes are unaffected. Each battle scene is exciting, suspenseful, and the appropriate length to keep the audience amused without feeling like the filmmaker tossed them in for padding. Variety in settings keeps fight situations fresh. The film also establishes each character's motivations, which helps Keanu Reeves' performance as John Wick stand out. The film's typical vengeance plot is one of my criticisms, but the filmmakers know this and make the story easy to follow.